Hey guys, good morning. This is Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching, and I am covering a very special trade this morning. Before I start that, I want to send information. So if you'd like to visit the room or you have any questions about the room, including costs, which I'll tell you, it's either $95 or $250 a month. There are no secrets here. There's nothing sinister. It's $250 a month, right? So I want to show you a new trade. And okay, so what's the purpose of this trade? So first of all, in the room, this trade will be a long only trade. Sorry, wrong, um, wrong image. But let's see if I can get the right one. There we go. There we go. Always on a Saturday morning, a little bit slow. But there's the information, tradeandperform@gmail.com. And so I'm going to call this trade the Supernova. And so for members of the room, you'll understand the best setup here involves an apex trap, a break of a power bar to the upside, a retrace, and then the entries. And I'm going to give you two distinct entries, but I'm going to start with the best entry available on this trade. Okay, so first of all, let's look at this picture and how this sets up. So this trade should be worth generally on NQ points, uh, 30 to 200 points in NQ. In ES, it should be worth anywhere from, I'd say, 5 to 35 points on average is what you're looking for, maybe 50 on big extensions. And again, the focus of this trade is long only. Why? Fewer failures and the ability of it to launch without a significant retrace happens more on the long side than it does on the short side. And so the whole focus, I want to be clear, the whole focus is very high RR, absolutely controlled risks so that you can manage your leverage and your sizing every time. And you have a very high win rate. Three components: high win rate, high RR, specific entry, controlled stop, entry, exit, stop. One, two, three, four elements, right? So organization is not my strong point, but nailing these trades is. So the first thing, let's erase all the lines, and I'm going to show you the trade. I'm going to just do all examples on NQ, and then I'm going to go do all examples on ES. So I am picking this up on date. I just picked it up randomly, and the date was, let's see here really quick so everyone has it. We are just a couple of days ago, August 29th. We'll scoot forward. I have a bunch of dates loaded on this chart. Right now, we're on August 29th. So, number one, you have a down move. You have an extension to the downside. And this works, by the way, particularly well on ES and NQ because of the mechanics. That market likes to go up even on down days, unlike in oil or commodities where you can just keep trending and trending and trending, right? So the number one element we're looking for, so some definitions. These little blue triangles are called apexes, right? And they set up apex trades in the room. Members of the room understand it. If you're new, you won't understand it. But I'm talking about these little blue triangles, right? Number one. Okay, so when I say apex, if I say apex to the upside, it means the blue triangle is pointing to the upside. That's all it means. Okay, it's just a way for me to draw your attention to what I have you looking for. Okay. Number two, I want to see one of these apexes to the upside. Again, this, and this get closed above. What does that look like? It looks like this. The apex gets closed above. Now I want the trade to set up prior to breaking the apex to the low. That's this, meaning once I get this trade up here, this is, by the way, if you're wondering, a Renko bar with a 24 tick. Once the trade closes up here, I want to have the trade. So when I say it's closed above the apex to the low, that's this apex, this little pink bar. It doesn't have to be pink. It can be gray, right? Closes above, then comes back. So then what you do next, so step one, you have to identify the upside apex that fires the lowest one relative to the low. Next, you have to have it trade above. That's step two, right? So identify, step one, trade above, step two, come back in, right? And the number one setup, the one that causes these huge runs, is this apex trap. The entry on this trade is that this apex to the left gets formed, gets closed underneath. It doesn't have to close underneath, excuse me, gets traded underneath and forms an apex. Excuse me, in this case, it formed an algo, which members in the room know what we're looking for, but we're looking specifically for a trade like this. Doesn't matter whether it closes underneath or just wicks underneath, just close underneath and close back into that apex over to the left, right? Now, if there's algos involved, that type of thing, even more powerful. And then as you can see, off to the races it goes. So we're going to do this all over again, right? I'm going to go find several examples, and this is a trade. It does not have to be, I want to explain, it doesn't have to be the low of the day, just has to be a swing to the low. Let me give you an example. So see how this is a swing to the low right here, right? So the problem here is if I set it up in the most orthodox way, the apex over there down here becomes critical, but there's another way to do it. You can have this apex just simply being the lowest apex relative to the low, closes above, and in this case, we would have needed it to violate this bar right here, so it didn't set up. This is going to be a different type of trade, which I'll cover. It's a more aggressive trade, and I'll cover it in another video, right? But again, the RR is enormous. This is about a 70-point move to the upside. It's great, great, great RR. So I'm going to go back to pre-market over here. So if you look, I'm going to go through several examples on this day, and then I'm going to come back to more recent price action. Okay, so you can see the market is trending down here, right? So as you can see, as we're coming down, that this ends up, so this is the low. You can see it doesn't set up anywhere along here. We come down, make another dip late in Asia. This becomes the apex to the low. I'm going to put a line across it. So remember, I had to have it come back and set up inside of here, and you can see it just doesn't do it in this case, right? Which is fine. We're not trying to get something that sets up every single time. What we're trying to get, excuse me, what we're trying to get is something that sets up consistently. So I'm going to try to find that here as I go through in the morning. And I would say, here we go. So see on these rotations down, I'm going to draw these lines. That's a low, but we never get above the apex. That's a low, that's a low, that's a low. So relative to this low, this becomes this right here becomes the lowest apex, right? You see that? So relative to the low, this becomes the lowest apex, right? We've now closed above right here, that lowest apex. It all has to do is just close a little bit above. This is another close above. Then I want it to come back in, which it does in both cases. And now what do I need to happen? What I want, and actually I don't even know if it happens here. What I want there we go. What I want is to get below this apex, which is valid. Then it closes right back in. Now I would usually set the stop on this 1 point underneath. So it's pre-market. You may have taken it twice, but let's see if we had to take it twice. The low on that is 53.50. We would have set a 52.50 stop, and you did not get. I want to make that really big so everyone can see that. You did not get stopped. See that? You did not get stopped. It did not break the low of the apex to the low relative to when that apex was formed. And there's your lots of dinero, right? And so I'm going to show you the whole trade from there. So the trap, what I'm going to call the supernova trap, right? This is going to be called a supernova, right? Supernova trap. Here's your entry at 12,466, right? By the time you got to 8:30 in the morning, it traded from 12,466 to 12,518. So that's let's just call that 40 and round up to 20. That's 60 points in about an hour, right? Or $1,200 a contract. And then if you left your trailers on forever. Some people do, some people don't. But it was obviously worth about 130 points, 140 points up there, which is about $2,400 a contract, right? So let's go to more recent times, looking at the same trade. I'm going to break it down the same way. I'm going to break it for you down in this morning schedule. Again, we focus primarily on the longs, and I have nothing wrong with the shorts, but shorts require much more patience, much more precision, and have a higher failure rate. So here we are, and this was coming into Friday morning, right? So here's Friday morning. So remember, on that 140 points, you had approximately 15 to 18 points of risk, which is $300 to $340 per contract of risk on NQ, right? Here's the, so again, you can see we're in a solid downtrend. Now, yes, you could argue that this closed above right here, but as you can see, it just didn't set up over here to the left at all, right? So then now we move from this apex over here to this apex over here. Now we want that one broken. So I'm going to put a line across it, right? And now what do I need to happen? This is where it can get a little bit tricky, right? So you got to remember that apex becomes very, very important no matter where you look at it, right? So I'm going to put a yellow line, okay? So it comes down and I don't get my apex trap. Here, I'll put this here. We would be looking for it, but we just wouldn't get it. It's right there, right? But if you extend this over, and I want to be clear, this is a swing trade every time. There's your apex trap. Now, we got to be fair. That apex trap occurred at 7:30 in the morning and was on econ. Okay, so I don't know that you had enough time to get it at all, right? But the trade did set up, and that's what you're looking for, right? So now if we go after the open over here at 7:30, again, you're just going to see it just didn't set up. It was this right here. It didn't set up, right? And then you're going to come over here. So if you look, right, again, on trend days up, it won't set up as easily. That's just all there is to it. And what you're looking for, see how you had this A, B, C, D? This right here, if you were looking at 851, which we don't trade the first half hour, but I do want to show you, it traded above, right? There's your apex relative to the low, traded above. There's your trap right there. And even that's 20, 30 points, $600 a contract on that long. It comes down. Again, now that it makes a new low, it's this and this. Now that it's made a new low, it's this. Here's the close above, right? But it makes no retrace in. We were just incredibly strong yesterday. And then as you're pushing up, you need to push back down. So I'm going to show it to you over lunch. Again, it didn't set up. Here's your apexes to this is the first one, right? See how it got above? Doesn't set back up without closing over this. And so then this is your next one. Again, it just doesn't set up. We were just on fire yesterday. The upside, everyone knew it. It was mega trend day up, right? So let's go look at a different day, right? Let's go look at let's use what was the really hard day to the downside? Thursday. Let's use Thursday, right? So we are coming into Thursday. Let's say we start trading in the European session, and let's see what our trades look like, right? So we're going to erase lines. Okay, so this is our push originally to the low at 5:35 Central Time, my time, right? Push to the low. So it's this apex or this apex. Obviously, it's this apex, closes above, right? So now we got to call everything if we're going to call anything, right? So what's the key to making this work? What's the most, we kind of need a little bit of, and members in the room, y'all going to see other trades that occur here that you're going to be like, wow, I see this, I see that. And y'all are right, there's other trades, right? So, but I'm focused on one. So I can't have this low get broken prior to it setting up. You can see right here. So again, part of this deal is you got to call If you're going to call part of it, you call everything. This is, let's just mark this down as a 20-point stop, right? It's more than 15 or 18. You'll still survive, right? I promise you this, you will still survive these trades, and we know it, right? And the reason why is because you're getting apex traps off the bottom. The point of this trade is really you want it to set up at a bit of a higher low, but the point of this trade is how far it can extend, right? So this is your stop, and that's fine, right? You get stopped there, and now what do you need? You've got a new low. You need to get above an apex. So first this one, then this one, then this one, right? There's another push to the low. Now once you get above, right, what do I need? I need an apex trap, and in this case, we can even let it come back to the other side. So this is my zone here, right? And I need an apex trap to set up. So if you will look, wow, that's just frustrating. Hold on one second here. Let's see if it's set up at all for us. I don't think it trapped. I need it to come back in and take this out. And again, the point isn't that it sets up every time, but yeah. And you can see how naturally, by the way, side point, once it gets above this, you can see how naturally how that's becoming support anyways. And there's, this is the A class trade, right? Then I'm going to introduce the B class trade afterwards. And that'll go, the B class trade for us will be 2-bar combos, and then B minus will be the just the algo by itself without a 2-bar combo. Okay. But what you will see on those is you'll see that they lift pretty significantly, right? So then we can start over again because we're going through, and we don't trade at 8 o'clock. I'm just going through. Actually, let's just go to where we trade, right, on Thursday. So as you can see, we open up here, 8:30. We dive hard to the downside. This is what we have to break. Again, we don't trade it at 9 o'clock or at 8 o'clock, and it runs. Right. So the question is really well, now that it's going to the downside, how did this set up, or what does it look like, and do we get our points, right? So let's just go through. The beauty of this trade is it's not a fast response trade because you have to get all the pieces together first. So these become your, so this is first, right? This apex, it has to come back in and trap. It just never does. So now we come back in and we just move this over here. We have to close above, right? We can't get below here. And what you will see is, so it closes above. Now we need an apex trap right here. Right? So I want y'all to see this so you understand. Trap 1 fails. All right, so let's just call that minus 20. Now you can say I'm having a bad day, right? Minus 40 points. I can deal with that. And I'm going to show you why I can deal with it in a moment. All right. Here's trap 2, because it traps. Actually, I'm going to scratch that. It just simply didn't. It would be one trap, and the second one did not trap because this trapped both bars. This trapped both bars right here. People were front running it, and it failed, right? But just stay with me for a moment. You're going to see it, okay? So remember, in that move, we're still looking for apex traps down here. So in this case, as long as it doesn't break the low, this becomes your new apex to the downside. So I'm going to show you where the trap is again. Here's the line. There's the line. There's the trap. And in this case, this trap, so remember, that was a pretty rough day, right? It was rolling pretty hard to the downside. That's 11,328. The best you could have done was 11,367. That's still 40, almost 40 points, or $800 a contract. And that's the best you could have done, right? We're going to go to the right because we're going to see the same setup again, right? And we're going to go, well, do we take it? So you can already see this is the apex. This is the close above, and it doesn't get underneath, right? So, and it doesn't trap, right? So we just keep going. So again, you're going to see over here, this is 1131. This is the apex. Excuse me, this is the apex. This is the close above. This is the apex we need to trap off of. There's the close back in. Now this trade, your entry, and by the way, the computer tells you where this bar will close, so you know where to put your buy stop. 11,281, and the best you could have done on that would have been 11,337. So that's 57 points. That's $1,000 per contract. So remember, you're losing about $300 per contract, and you have the potential of doing 2, 3, or 4 RR on the trade, right? We're going to keep going through this day so you can see where the trades set up the opportunity. So remember, I'm just going to go through because this is how I do it in the room, right? Lowest apex, we got to close above, and I got to trap back over here without breaking this low. No deal, right? New low, I've got to break this. Then I need an apex that I have to trap back into either from the left or the right. So that just doesn't occur all the way down. It breaks the low. Now I've got to roll to the right. So this is easy because as it's coming down, this is the first place. See as it's coming down? This is the first place where I'm going to have an opportunity to even look for a trade is when we get above here, right? So this is the first place. Now I need an apex trap without breaking this low. I get a new low. Now I need to trade above that swing again. So you'll notice you're not getting slammed anywhere in that process, right down and into the close, right? So let's move. I want to go to the other hard down day, and I want to show this working long on the down days. What day did we have a hard down day? I want to say, was it Monday? Here's Monday. And I do trade the pre-market, so I want everyone to see it so they can understand what I am looking for. So here we go at 3 a.m. I'm usually in my office by 5 a.m., right? So again, what are my requirements on this trade? It doesn't set up every time, right? It doesn't have to with the RR that it provides. And there's other things we can do to even increase the odds beyond there. So there's my swing to the low. Now I need an apex trade. I obviously don't get, right? But you can see it'd have been nice if it would have given it because it was right at 4:46 in the morning. And it did take off, right? So now I'm over here again, and I'm looking for a new swing to the low. This is 8:30. So here's my swing to the low, right? This is my swing to the low at 8:30. This is my lowest apex, right? So remember, this is valid. This is on Monday morning. This is valid on any apex trap down here until this breaks. That gives me a big wide area, 63 points, right? So here's my first potential candidate, and obviously there's no trap on it. Here's my second candidate. There's no, it didn't get a trap to the left. It didn't close into anything. But right here at 8:43, and I don't trade this first half hour, but there's my trap. And you can see this is not a fast response thing, right? From the time you saw it possibly set up, right? First from the time you saw where your apex is till over here. This is about 8 minutes. Then it's going to roll down. This whole thing is about 20 minutes in setting up before it lifts. Your entry, and I'm fine if people want to trade before the half hour. I don't, right? That's all I'd say. There's good reasons to take this trade, in particular in the first half hour because it can lift 11,324, and the best you could have done prior to rolling back down would have been 11,427, which is 103 points, $2,000 a contract, pretty damn quickly. And again, you'll know where that bar is going to close because you can see the range bar predictor. So here we start to roll down to the downside, right? So I want to show this because it's important. As I'm rolling down to the downside, the only thing I'm really paying attention to is, do I get above the apex? Excuse me a second. Okay, again, we're coming down. We're coming down. So over here's where I break that. Actually, over here's where I break that apex. Right, so here, let me draw the lines out so everyone can see it. Break the apex, low, right? I need it to come back in, and it just doesn't here, and that's okay. And I want to be clear, that's okay, right? I don't mind that it doesn't come back in. I don't mind that it doesn't even set up. It doesn't bother me, right? It's on those occasions when it does come back in, that's what I am, that is what I am looking for when it, on those occasions when it does come back in. And by the way, this isn't the only trade that we have by many, many, many miles. right? The other thing you will notice, and guys, because I got to wrap it up, I'll do ES later today, but this is a special note to the members in the room. What you will also notice is once you get above that apex to the low, what you will notice is that your apex traps right to the left fire again, right? So here I'm going to show you that really quick so you can see it. I'm going to go back to early. I want to make it. So here's 8:30. I actually wanted to get prior to 8:30. I wanted to go back to before we get this big run on Friday. Let's see if I can identify it. Let me get that pushed down. There's the apex to the low. Runs too far, so we need to get another cycle. Okay, so see if I can get it here. Friday's not a good example. It just runs too hard. Let me go back a little bit here. We go to Wednesday morning. Around 5 a.m. is where I'd be looking. And what you would see is, where's the apex to the low? No. Okay, so here's an example of where, again, it occurs at 8:30, so it's so fast. I'm going to go off to the right here and see if I can find the example. So here's 9 a.m., right, prior to this run up. See how you have the break, see how you break the apex relative to the low. You closed above, you push back in. So this set up normal anyways, right? This was your apex trap and it launched off to the right side. But what you'll notice is once you've gotten above, almost every apex trap to the right will garner that extension. So you want to go as long as it doesn't rip 50 points almost immediately, right? So like had this broken, right, and come back and performed an apex trap, that would have been valid, right? Once you break over here, right, you're going to see apex trap, apex trap, apex trap, right? And what you're looking for them to do, even though this was the close of the day because it was a down day, is you're looking for them to launch. And the key, what's holding you there is getting above that apex. As you come back to the left, let's find another day where last week was just so crazy. Let's just go to another day randomly where it wasn't quite as crazy and things were setting up during the US session a little bit more often, right? So look at this down move here into 9 a.m., right? So if you see this, so I want to remind you, you're looking to get above the apexes over here, right? So you get above the apexes, but they keep breaking the low, right? They keep setting up apex traps off the bottom, which is fine, right? What this trade is doing is cluing you in that you could get a super big extension, right? So see how you finally get this low here. You get this apex over here. So see how it clearly, this time it impulses below. There's the apex, comes back, tags the apex one more, closes in, and there's your lift, right? And then we come down and we do that same process all over again, right? You'll see we make a series of moves to the low. There's your low apex. There's your close above. This is just set up an apex trap within, and then there's your lift. Now, as you're watching as we're coming down, right, you'll see this is your apex to the low. There's your close above, right? So here, that's your apex trap, and you can see just beautiful, beautiful lifts off of that. And then you'll see it committed over here. In this case, unfortunately, just face ripped, right? It never sets up. It never sets up in the way we would have wanted it to set up. You'll see over here, this is when it gets above the apexes right here, right? gets above the apex here and just launches. That's all right. It's not going to give it to us every time, but we're still looking for when it commits that apex trap. And if we go a little bit further, this is in September, right? So you have an idea of the price action. Let's move over to a day. I want it to set up after 9 o'clock. So here's 9 a.m., right? So here we get above the apex to the left. Here's your trap right here at 9:14. And you can see your lift all the way off to the right. Again, I exercise this on the long side, and you'll see that the traps, as long as it held above, kept firing until they didn't. And then it just resets that cycle over and over and over again, right? So the only difficulty with this, and members in the room will recognize, it's not really a difficulty, it's just how it is, right? It won't always trap. That's the problem. So you're going to come in here, you clearly get above the apex, right? And it just doesn't give you the trap that you're looking for. As a matter of fact, the first trap is all the way over here. I would have never taken it. It was already lifted too high, right? But that's your next trap right there. And it's still lifted into the close. But what I know is when I get that trade, I've got a very good chance. So I want to remind everyone how this is different than the other trades. Once I get this trade, I'm just going back randomly and picking days, right, to show that it just sets up over and over again, right? So once I get this setup, right, once I get this setup, I know I have very good odds of making the trade opportunity work for me. And that's why it's so, so important. So again, right here, you'll see you're above the wave. In this case, this is just a 50 retrace with a normal apex trap, right? But for a beautiful, beautiful trade. And you'll see that occur over and over again, right? So even over here, you'll see, well, we have to close above one of the apexes. We don't do that. We do it over here to the right, right? So I want to show you this, right? We finally get above an apex. We want it to come back. So here's your first trap. And there's your second trap. And they're both huge lifts off of that. Anyways, guys, have a great day. And I will talk to y'all later. Thanks so much for joining. And I will talk to y'all soon.